Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Okay, so we got the Uvalde report in from the feds, and it's damning. And it turns out that there were in that hour and 17 minutes, well, they were not barricaded. Well, they were barricaded in there. Well, no, they weren't. No. While they were in there with a terrorist who had killed most of them, but he slowly was allowed to kill them in 6 separate instances of gunfire of a total over 45 rounds while the cops were right on the other side of the door. And I chiefly blame, as the DOJ does, the chief of Uvalde ISD Police, Arredondo. And then also they blame the county sheriff, who could have been an incident commander but didn't do it as well, and for not sharing intel. They also blame the then acting chief of police for the city of Uvalde. I think they're secondarily should be charged with a little bit of a lesser crime compared to the Uvalde ISD chief. That man knowingly took a job as a cop, knowing that he would never go in, but wanted to have his butt kissed and praised for being a cop. He's a coward. The day he was born a coward. It just is what it is. But he lied to us and said he would do something like go in when it happened. And he lied to us, and he took the job as a fraud, and he must be criminally prosecuted and never have his peace officer license again. And I demand that happen. I think that should happen. And the family said tonight that this is all we have left is accountability, and they want prosecutions, and I do too. What do you want? Now that we have the DOJ's reporting Uvalde, what do you think should happen to the cops who refused to go in for more than an hour as people were shot over and over again? And who do you think is most accountable? And what do you want to see happen to your child's school in light of this report? I'll tell you what I want to see. I want teachers armed. The teacher that was in there that survived, that man's been totally psychologically traumatized and damaged for life. If you watch him in these interviews he did a year ago or a year and a half ago, I don't blame him. And he's anti-gun. He wants to see gun legislation crap, the leftists want. But you know what? I think if he would have had a gun on him, he would have shot and killed that terrorist. I have no question about it. Other leaders that day looked on as leaders. By the way, the number to call in with those questions is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. Other officers that day were looked on as leaders, including 2 constables, the Bortec team, and others. Extra criticism aimed at the sheriff, who could have established a command post, established a unified command, and shared the intelligence he learned from the shooter's relative. At one point, the sheriff and the acting Uvalde city police chief were within 10 to 15 feet of each other, didn't communicate anything. Without proper command and control, a game warden, listen to this, you guys. The real heroes in here, a game warden and a constable were taking on the roles traditionally performed by an incident commander, and yet no one challenged them. With no one checking whether the door connected, listen to this, nobody ever checked whether the door was locked. That was connecting those 2 doors to the classrooms. Nobody ever checked anything. A ranger told investigations his actions at the scene were minimal, despite being part of an elite task force to help local agencies stop crime and violence. Dang! A captain with the State Department of DPS ordered a halt to entry to the classroom, thinking a more skilled team was on the way. Unfreaking believable. A former state trooper who said she would have tried harder if her own son was in there soon joined the school police force. Once the people there found out, they got her fired fast. All right, let's go to Gary in Mansfield. Gary, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
I'm like you. The 3 people that were in charge should have been the police chief of the town should have been put on unpaid leave. The superintendent of the school should have been fired. All the people there should have been fired. But here's the other thing. In any other profession, if you're flying a jet and your actions cause 19 people to get killed on your flight because you went out of procedure, like you would be charged with manslaughter. And my thing is, those 3 guys need to be charged with manslaughter.
Yes, I like what you're saying. How about? But I don't know if you want to charge them with 30 counts of manslaughter, but probably. Anyway. Well,
yeah, I would. And the other thing is, every policeman that was in that hallway should have been fired immediately without pay.
Here's why I disagree. Here's why I disagree with you on that, and we can have a nice debate about it. But we certainly should. But who was in charge? To me, are the Uvalde ISD police chief first. He was there in the first minutes. Secondarily, I think the city chief as well as the county sheriff are absolutely correct as well with the DOJ on that. I think those three. I think the cops below them, all the sheriff's deputies, all the state troopers who are rank and file. I don't think any rank and file should be charged because you cannot undermine a commander on a scene. I don't see how you can, and I want our cops to tell us otherwise, because maybe they'll tell us why that's not true. But I mean, unless the cop is shooting innocent people, you know what I mean, then you got to shoot and kill the cop. But if the fellow officer or your chief or whatever, but if he's saying you have to stand down or not allowing you to go in by default, I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, I guess if you look at they're not parallel things, but like in George Floyd, those other cops stood down.
I'm sorry, St. George Floyd, blessed be his name. Is that who you speak of?
Well, what I'm saying...
St. George Floyd, sir. On my show, it's St. George Floyd. Blessed be his name. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, but anyway, What I'm saying is those cops stood down and they were charged. And I don't know the law, but I guarantee you one thing. That school district needs to be sued out of existence.
Yes.
And so does the city.
Well, I think the chief of police for Uvalde ISD needs to be sued personally, because it was a personal decision to save his butt and to let a terrorist finish the job and kill all those kids over an hour and 17 minutes. That's this chief of police. I want to say it. I was just feeling it that he's sicker than the terrorist in there, or at least more. He's a coward, is what he is. He's not sicker than the terrorist in there. Go ahead.
Well, the whole thing is I watch a lot of police scenes and stuff of recreation, and you know this too. Any gun battle is won or lost typically in the first 30 seconds, and who gets the most rounds down range wins. And when that guy had an hour and 7 minutes, and he got 45 rounds on unarmed people, that gun battle was lost.
No, he got 45 rounds in 6 separate incidences of shooting in over an hour. He was able to kill whoever he wanted to kill. He could sit there and watch him squirm and go, I'm going to kill you in 45 minutes. I'm going to kill you in an hour. I'm watching you over there. You got fake blood. Some of these guys smeared blood from dead people on him. And next to him, I see you over there. The terrorist can say to himself in the mind, I'm going to kill you in an hour and 5 minutes, but I'm going to watch you hide and pretend you're dead because they ain't doing nothing. That's what happened. Go ahead, sir.
So, yeah, exactly. And my point being is, like, when he fired 45 rounds, the way you win that gun battle, the police should have stormed it and hit him with 450 rounds.
No, actually, let me tell you, I disagree on that, and here's why. I think that the gun battle that you spoke of, that is, it's going to happen within, I think it's going to be one within a second or two or three. Because that's it. Right. That's it. Yeah. I appreciate your call, Gary. I got to roll. I think it's a 1 to 3 second, 1 to 2 second, probably, honestly, first second or 2 or 3 is whoever's going to win. And you go into that, you barge into there and you go kill. You're not going to shoot 45 rounds or 150 rounds. That was 45 rounds, little by little, 5 here, 2 here, as he was killing them over an hour and 10 minutes because they didn't go in. They let him finish the job to satanically and wickedly kill those kids at his will. He held their hands in their lives while all those officers out there did nothing. So now that we have this DOJ report on Uvalde, what do you think should happen to the cops who refused to go in for more than an hour as people were shot over and over again? And who do you think is most accountable? And what do you want to see happen at your child's school in light of this? More on this, including how they compromised the crime scene. 800-288-WBAP. That's next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. DOJ report coming in today. It's damning. Now that we have the DOJ's report on Uvalde, what do you think should happen to the cops who refused to go in for more than an hour as people were shot over and over again? And who do you think is most accountable? And what do you want to see happen to your child's school in light of this report? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here's some more things they found with this report. It gets worse as it goes along with other aspects of this. A Texas Ranger told investigators, I already mentioned that part here. I want to go to the next one. They compromised the crime scene. There was total chaos in the hallway, the report says. The regional director of DPS did not provide direction or coordinate with other leadership or personnel in the hallway. Instead, the director and other officers walked past law enforcement officers bringing injured and deceased victims out of classrooms and entered classrooms 111 and 112 with no identifiable purpose or action, therefore compromising the crime scene. EMT medical teams were hampered from doing their job. EMS staff not the first to assess the situation in classrooms and ensure the most appropriate use of critical resources. I like to say resources as a joke. Deceased victims were moved out of the classrooms. Deceased victims were moved out of classrooms, left in or outside of the hallway, or transported to the hospital. At the same time, injured child victims were being tended to or put on school buses with injury note to law enforcement. There were people with bullet wounds, little children with bullet wounds that were put on a bus, while dead kids were put on a freaking ambulance. An ambulance drove past an available helicopter with one instance, wasted at least 15 minutes to get a patient to a Life Flight Hospital. Law enforcement moving injured kids in ways that were probably more harmful. Several students with bullet wounds, grazes, other injuries directed onto buses to a civic center without having been brought to medics' attention. Initial crime scene investigation hampered by too many people going to have a look at classrooms 111 and 112. See that they mess with the crime scene investigation by going in and ogling at it. There's even more I'll share with you coming up next, but let's talk to Corey in Plano. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Corey.
Hey, man. Hey, I just wanted to say that I think everybody that was involved with those choices should get manslaughter. I agree with your last caller. But I think preventative.
By the way, do you mean like every cop, or do you mean the chief?
No, the heads.
Me too. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. But every school in Texas should have some sort of officer, depending on how big that school is. They should have one to three. I looked at the stats. It's about 1,200 public schools in Texas. If you multiply that by 80,000, I'm guessing that's their salary. It's about $96 million. That is just about as much as it costs for the McKinney football stadium to be built.
Let me tell you this. It's insanely more expensive to have it, and for elementary schools, it is not feasible unequivocally. There was a proposal that somebody wanted to do. They went through it. They did the math. It was insane. We talked about it about last year or year before. And it's not possible without destroying the budget for what do you call elementary schools. And if you think about it this way, sir, when you go from an elementary school you might have four elementary schools feeding into one middle school. Basically, I think it's between, I'm guessing, I don't know, and I think it varies district to district, but you probably have 4 to 8 elementary schools that feed a high school, for example. So what you need for a high school is nothing compared to what you would need for an elementary school, and what you need for a middle school is still way easier and feasible than it is in an elementary school. So that's the problem there. And I didn't want to kill your mojo. Continue on.
No, that's fine. I just don't understand. I guess I understand it's going to be a lot more money, but at the same time, we can budget differently, right? We're wasting so much money on other stuff like immigrants. I feel like we should be able to move money around to make it work. You know what I mean?
And I've gone in depth on that. I don't have those numbers for you, but I'm telling you, it is not even a thinkable option because the money they cost. There was a wealthy area, a wealthy enclave. I forget which one it is in one of the wealthy districts here. And this lady's like, I'm going to help. And there's a program I have. We're going to get every school district an officer at all times in the elementary school. And the costs were crunched. It was in the news, and we talked about it. It is not feasible. It is obscene. So just to let you know.
Well, my next option would be if a teacher is willing to carry, then let them carry.
And that's the point. I think that for me personally, I don't know if you have kids, but I do. But now they're one's doing dual credit at college here in the Metroplex, and another one's in college here in the Metroplex. So it's not as much of a deal there compared to in these schools where this is happening. Of course, it could be, but the thing I'm thinking about is I want all those teachers to be able to carry if they want to, like you do. And I know the teacher that was in there that's been, if you remember his interviews, he was horribly scarred, and I understand why. He's really frail and mentally going through hell still to this day, I can guarantee you based on what I saw. But I think even though he's anti-gun and wants to take away the guns from what he said in his interview, one of his big ones after the whole thing, I think if that guy would have had a gun on him, he would have used it. I think you're not going to watch those kids get killed. He loved those kids, and I totally believe it. And, so he had to watch in horror and lay down there and play dead, or just, while his children that he loves and knows and pours his heart into are dead. We're dying in front of him, screaming. It was just sick.
Yes, sir. All right, man. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Good night.
Wait. Remember this. Hold on. There's a rule on this show. You don't dismiss me. I dismiss you.
All right.
Are you ready, Corey? Corey, I got to go. I'm too busy, Corey. I got to go, okay?
All right, man.
Thanks. Bye. Okay. Furthermore, on this report, there was a lack of information in Spanish offered to residents of the Latino. It's a half Latino town, which I wouldn't say was an issue if you were up here, but that's at the border. I'm sure that is a legitimate issue. From a lack of information in Spanish offered to residents in the half Latino town, to erroneous messages posted not corrected by the school district and police, many communication errors have had lasting damage, the DOJ report says. And then last but not least, the district attorney has not ruled out yet. She's not completed her inquiry into what happened, including whether any law enforcement officer should be criminally charged. Every one of the cops in charge, the two chiefs and the sheriff, all should lose their peace officer license and all should be prosecuted with manslaughter. I think that's good. And there might be even better charge that's more serious. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. But the district attorney in Uvalde County has still not announced whether or not there will be criminal charges. Several family members indicate they cannot move forward without their lives and do the things they normally need to do, DOJ says, until they know what happened to their children. Some have asked if their child was alone or near friends. Others want, it's just terrifying. It's horrifying, I'm sorry. Others want to know, let me start over on this last part before we move on. Some have asked if their child was alone or near friends when they died. Others want to know if their child would have lived and had law enforcement entered the classroom earlier, which I know that's the case. I believe strongly. Many victims and family members have reported no one has taken accountability for what happened. No one's apologized nor even acknowledged that families deserve this information. Disgusting. All right, guys, coming up next, we get into what would have been the number one story today. Texas is refusing to comply with today's deadline that was given at midnight this morning to vacate the park at Eagle Pass, where we have a wide swath of the border that we've taken over, and we're arresting the illegals now. There's so much on this coming up next. Do not miss this. We're jumping on that next. On News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Meantime, we have started arresting the illegals. In fact, I have some beautiful audio that you will like to hear. This is music to my ears. I love it. You can see this and hear it. On Twitter, follow me on Twitter at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. And shall we go? We hear this beautiful thing. Ready? That's an illegal getting arrested. Isn't that beautiful? As the illegal cuts into the fence and the razor ribbon to get into our border, we have taken over the park in Eagle Pass. And in fact, the Biden administration has been kicked out. And as you know, but guess what? They ordered us. They sent us a cease and desist letter to our governor and our state attorney general saying to remove the barriers around that park and let the Border Patrol come in so they can usher the illegals in with impunity. What we did in reaction to this, you're going to love this. In reaction to this today, Border Patrol, DPS and guardsmen were putting up more fencing to keep the Border Patrol out and more razor ribbon to keep the Border Patrol out. So we literally doubled down today by physically putting up more barriers around the park to keep the feds out. Isn't that beautiful? And we're arresting the illegals, as you heard, and as I'm telling you. They're arresting them for criminal trespass. This is not the new law. That new law starts in, I think, either 2 weeks or 6 weeks. I think it's at the end of February. I could be wrong. And thankfully, February is a short month at 28 days, so that's even better. But we started arresting them today for trespass. And listen to what we got. This is on my Twitter feed as well. You got to see this. At Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. CHRISKROK. Look at this. From the DPS spokesperson, Chris Olivares, Lieutenant. Troopers arrest 2 males for criminal trespass from the Republic of Azerbaijan. Do you know where Azerbaijan is? How much you want to bet 9.8 people out of 10 won't even be able to point to Azerbaijan on a map? There's the invasion for you. It's interesting because the people of Azerbaijan there's very varying looks. One guy looks like he's some white guy from Wisconsin or something like that, but his passport says it's from Azerbaijan. The other guy looks like he's Middle Eastern or something. We're importing the world from places we've never been or seen. You can't even point to on a map. That's Joe Biden. Second of all, I have other pictures and video of arrests there. Now, I'm going to tell you something else that you have to hear. And what that is an illegal from Haiti, one of Joe's illegals from Haiti that came here in 2022, last year. Excuse me, year and a half ago. One of Joe's illegals from Haiti that was given probation. Come on in. Wait for your hearing. He raped, according to ICE, a disabled person in the Boston area. So one of Joe's illegals, who's been here less than a year and a half, is accused of rape. His name is Pierre Lucard Emile. Sources provided a photo of him, which is on my Twitter feed. This is from his federal database. His name was not included in the ICE press release. He remains in custody. There's the face on my Twitter feed of one of Joe's illegals who ICE says raped a disabled citizen. Joe's illegals are already murdering. In New York, there was a 15-year-old homeless illegal that Joe brought in. He murdered somebody on our streets, one of our citizens. And now this guy, according to ICE, has raped one of our disabled citizens. Joe Biden. Raping them one at a time, Joe. Joe, make sure we rape the vulnerable. Joe, we love your policy. I know your approval on immigration is only 18%, but dang it, Joe, I'm one of those 18%. Who doesn't like to see our citizens murdered and raped? Especially the disabled ones, huh? Thanks, Joe. Where can we sign up for some more of this? This is from Bill Malugin, Fox News reporter. An illegal immigrant from Haiti charged with raping a developmentally disabled person. Okay, developmentally, so a mentally disabled person. In Boston, a developmentally disabled person in Boston released from jail into the community after the sanctuary jurisdiction in Dorchester, Massachusetts refused to honor ICE's detainer request. See? They let a freaking accused rapist free to rape more. Oh, you're one of Joe's illegals? You're a person of color? You're African? You're Haitian American? You're black? Oh, you're not Haitian American. You're Haitian. You're black? Oh, go free. Rape some more. We don't want to offend anybody here. We love illegals, especially illegals of color. They might even deport that guy from Azerbaijan that's white, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't fit the mold. The DEI garbage mold. Okay, so continuing on. ICE says, disturbingly, ICE detained first of all, Dorchester, Massachusetts, let the accused rapist go, the illegal rapist go. ICE in Boston just found and rearrested him, calling the local decision to release him without notice disturbing. ICE statement says, disturbingly, and despite our filing an immigration detainer, this individual was released back into the community by the criminal court. The men and the women of ICE Boston continue to protect the community from those who pose a real public safety threat to our communities. The man will now stay in federal ICE custody until his local rape charges are adjudicated. Then ICE will deport him. The Haitian man first arrived in a port of entry in Brownsville, Texas, RGV, December 2022. So he arrived here 1 year and 2 months ago. 1 year and a month and a half, 1 year and 2 months ago. And I wonder how many other people he may have raped between now and then. In September 2023, Boston cops arrested him for rape and indecent assault and battery on a disabled person. ICE filed a detainer request. Local authorities set him free because they're woke. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question now because, as you know, we're arresting the illegals and we are refusing to comply. We're not letting the Border Patrol go in, and we double down on our fencing and raise a ribbon to keep the Border Patrol out of that Texas park. It's a lot more land than I realized on the border. It's a lot more area, which is beautiful. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you want our state to refuse to comply with allowing Border Patrol at the Eagle Pass Park where they're not allowed in? Do you want our state to continue to refuse to comply with allowing Border Patrol at the Eagle Pass Park where they're not allowing them in? And they're arresting the illegals and they're standing firm. Do you want them to continue to do this? Stop complying, continue to not comply, and arrest the illegals. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm going to give you how long the park in Eagle Pass that is on the border, how long is that part of the border? It's actually longer than I realized and that many of us may have realized, and that's a good thing. I'm also going to be playing you audio of KJP totally contradicting herself and acting a fool. A million flutters of her eyes while she looks down and lies through her teeth. All that's coming up next to the Chris Crock Show. But do you want our state to continue to refuse to comply with allowing Border Patrol at the Eagle Pass Park and continue arresting these illegals? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.
Why are you repeating this false claim that Republicans voted to reduce the number of Border Patrol agents, even though the Washington Post gave the administration 3 Pinocchios for that?
So we don't believe it's a false claim. Our statements were very direct here. Last year, House GOP voted, and not only did they vote for it, but they touted their Limit, Save, Grow Act. That's the act.
Well, and they vowed that it would never affect Border Patrol.
They voted for and touted it, right? This is an act. And this would have forced the elimination of 2,000 Border Patrol agents. That's what this act that they touted, that they voted for in the House. So that was their proposal, and that was what they voted for back in May.
All right, so there was KJP blowing smoke up the world's butt, and everybody knows she's lying. And I tell you to go to, it's on my Twitter feed from last night or this morning, and maybe it was earlier today. I don't know, it's all blurred, but scroll down a little bit, you'll see it. Go to 43 seconds in that, and when I played for you there, and her eyes flutter a million times. She looks down as she tries to play. Oh, well, these people died. You're not taking this seriously. Her eyes are fluttering like heck because she's like BS. She's horrible at her job, but I mean, I guess she might not be able to be good at it because, I mean, this woman has to lie every day, all the time. It's just disgusting. All right, so do you want the state of Texas, our state, to continue to continue refusing to comply with allowing Border Patrol at the park? It's 2.5 miles of the U.S. border. Isn't that incredible? We have seized 2.5 miles of the U.S. border! Yeah! God bless Texas. So do you want us to continue to refuse to comply with allowing Border Patrol there, and also and to continue arresting these illegals? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you want to continue this defiance of the federal government and arresting these illegals? Kella, you are in China Spring. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
Okay. Hey.
Hey.
So are you asking me, do I want them? This is what I want. I want Governor Abbott to step up long before, there's a headline for him.
Agreed.
A long time ago, I wanted him to step up, close the border, do what Texas needs to do.
Agreed.
Keep them out. Yeah, I'm totally for them not letting the federal border control come into the El Paso Park. But more than that, I'm for getting these rhinos out, and I'm sorry, but Abbott's one of them.
Yes, he is. No. You're right. Now, I will say it was not. Here's what I look at. Here's how I explain it to people. Like when I have my conservative friends and relatives in Chicago say, "How's your governor?" I say, "He's a lot better than yours in Illinois, for example, or California, New York.
Right,
he's
exactly.
much better, but he is not." As far, and I'm not saying for the president here, but just hear me. He's not Ron DeSantis, and I think Ron DeSantis would have had more balls on from the get-go, and done more stuff. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so
if you don't agree, that's fine. You can say it. Go ahead.
No, I agree that Ron DeSantis would have done more from the beginning without the headlines and taking care of Florida.
Right.
I absolutely agree. What my problem with
Abbott?
Ted Cruz,
Okay,
Ken
yes.
Paxton,
Yes.
Greg Abbott, all of them, is that they don't do jack until they think that there might be a chance that they get voted out. That's what I think. I think they're all good to a certain degree,
But not good enough.
But they should be way better.
Yes,
way
I
better.
agree with you. Let me.
Well,
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go
Let me
ahead.
further.
It's just.
Then let me further my point and in what you're saying. And I want to credit the Newsmax border correspondent who's a retired Texas DPS captain who was in charge of border operations, counterterrorism, counterintelligence for the border. Retired Captain Jason Jones, who told me, and I agree with him 110%, he really opened my eyes more. These Republicans doing an impeachment on Mayorkas, that should have been done 2 years ago. All of them are actors.
God.
They're all actors.
Yeah,
they're all actors. And they're all pretending now. And John Cornyn, I got to say...
They're all taking money. Nothing's going to stop until they stop taking money.
Yes.
It's all about money. It's all about power.
John Cornyn is the worst one because today he was on Fox News and I almost vomited in my mouth. And I talked about this last night. He wants this stupid deal with Joe Biden that would allow 5,000 illegals a day to come in.
Yeah, I know.
You could only start kicking them out upon arrival if there's more than 5,000 for 7 days in a row. And this puke wants to tell us how great of a deal this is. We should take this deal. Oh, we got him over a barrel. You guys think you have us over a barrel. Go ahead.
Well, until Greg Abbott starts doing until the Congress, the Senate, until they all actually start doing investigations into where the money comes from.
Yes.
Then it's not going to stop because the money that they're getting is coming from the ones that we don't want it to come from.
All the big money that makes all the money on these illegals brought in. You're darn right, Kella. Thank you for your call. Look forward to your next one. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. So it's 2.5 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border occupied by the state's National Guard, and the White House is still lying. Its spokesperson, which I think they're talking about KJP in this NBC News article today, criticized Abbott's immigration policies in response to the drowning, saying in a statement, his political stunts are cruel, inhumane, and dangerous. You guys found out 1 hour after those 3 illegals were dead. And they were already dead, and nobody could have saved them, and you know that, and you're still lying. You're still lying to the world. And so is the fake news mainstream media. By the way, it's a 33-year-old woman, a 10-year-old boy, and an 8-year-old boy that died in that. All 3 are citizens of Mexico. More Joe's illegals think they can just come over here. Why not? Joe's given the green light for even accused rapists who have been arrested from raping our children, raping our disabled people from Haiti that was let in a year and 2 months ago. We talked about. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, I did promise to get this at 9:45. We're a few minutes late, but Chinese lab crafts a mutant COVID-19 strain with a 100% kill rate in humanized mice and surprisingly rapid death. I'll tell you about that sick, scary story, along with how there was a Chinese lab funded by the Chinese Communist Party in our country. In what state and what they had in there. They had a lab operating illegally. Unbelievable. All that's coming up next to the Chris Crock Show on WBAP.